Right, good evening everyone, and thank you for attending this extraordinary meeting of Oswestry Town Council, called, as you know, for the very important reason that there is a threat of closure for main post offices in the UK, which, as far as I know, we're all pretty much in agreement would be a bad thing for the town. So I've called this meeting so that we can discuss it and hopefully agree some ways forward so that we can support efforts to retain our post office. And so here we are. The first item on the agenda is public participation session. So we have an opportunity for members of the public to talk to us about their thoughts on the matter and even to tell us what they think we should be doing on their behalf. So we've got 15 minutes and we've got a few people here. So the rule is that you have 3 minutes to speak and make your point. And because there's several people here, we will be sticking to that. So if I will give opportunity for public now. So if you just raise your hands to speak, okay, I'll move from my right. So if you'd like to, is there a spare microphone at the corner there?
I can boom. I'm sure
It's for the streaming and the microphone system, if you wouldn't mind. Thank you. Yes. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Verity Dean, concerned resident of the community. I just want to obviously raise the same point that you've just made, Mayor, which is that the idea of the post office closing doesn't feel like a good, sensible idea for the town. The concerns I have that I do want to share here now are when you just said that you called this meeting. I, for the record, don't think that that is actually right in terms of this wasn't a proactive move by Oswestry Town Council. It took another group of people to really hammer home the point with a couple of councillors here present, Mr Maguire, Mr Price, and also with the chair of the rural parish councils to get this meeting to be established. I know that it is certainly within the possibility and the remit of the mayoral office, the town clerk, the local MP to have called it, but it unfortunately didn't happen that way. That is my concern. Yet again, we're in a position where instead of, as local residents, we're being proactively encouraged and informed by our town council, we're the ones doing the informing. We're the ones that are asking. We're the ones that are being proactive. We don't hold the power. We don't have the power, the strength of the office behind us. And yet it doesn't feel that it's being used for our benefit. Inevitably, the idea of public consultation is going to be mooted. Consultation is like a petition, the bare minimum. We need to have active engagement, which actually means council members working on behalf of our community, getting out there, knocking on the doors, asking people, telling people, informing people. It isn't up to us, the public, to be bringing this to you, asking you to do it. It is up to you, our elected representatives, to be telling us there is an issue in our community that doesn't work for us, the public, and that this is what you want to do about it. Is this okay? And that's all I want. I want to really see you guys lead us, your public, in stopping Oswestry Post Office from being one of the ones selected for potential closure. Thank you.
Thank you. Message heard and understood.
Thank you.
Gentleman there, thank you.
Okay, right. So, my name's Steve Wilcox. I live out at Morda. I sort of hear what the lady has to say, but trying to look at what we could do is more the way I'm trying to approach it. So I think the first thing is you've got an extraordinary meeting here which is limited to the 15 minutes for the public to have their say. So I think the first thing possibly you should have is a public meeting which gives the public a better chance to air their views and come up with suggestions on what could happen and what to do. It's not clear cut, is it, as to what's going to happen. We've seen a list. There are some 90 post offices which are owned direct, and there is a review going on to decide what will happen with those 90. So I think the council needs to prepare itself, and I would suggest that it forms a task and finish group. The task and finish group to investigate exactly what is going on within the post office so that they open up negotiations to understand, is this realistic? If it is realistic, then they should start to form plans as to what the alternatives could be. They could do a number of different things. For example, they could actually decide to buy the post office if it came up for sale, but I'm sure there are other alternatives. I don't know what the funding is, but the council could get funding if it so choose, but that's just one example of the things that could be done. However, I do believe, as already said, that we can't lose the post office. So therefore, that task and finish group should consist of people, not only councillors, but also people from the community that could represent the community to actually make sure it doesn't get closed. So those are my ideas.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, was there? Yes, thank you.
Hi, my name's Natasha and I'm one of the owners of the surplus station on Willow Street. Earlier on this week is when I found out that the post office was on the at-risk of closing list. And since we've lost Barclays Bank and things like that, then I was just worrying about what are we going to do economy-wise. So I'm not here as what we're going to do as a town council and things like that. I'm here to try and find solutions as to how we can move forward to keep the post office open. And one of those things is to either remain in the same building or to move the post office. However, I do also have issues that we need to raise with that, because we have a lot of elderly people that come into our shop, and a lot of those people have got mobility issues and things like that. Now, the post office, everybody knows, the main bus stop is right outside, so if that was to move, then we are going to have issues of whether those people can access the post office. So one of the suggestions that we'd like to make to the council is that if there is no choice, the post office want to use that building for any reason, that we can make some of our store available to keep the post office in Willow Street and available for the residents. But obviously that would be a lot of meetings. I have written to the post office. I have also contacted the local MP. Sadly, I've not had a reply from either of those, and nor am I likely to receive one anytime soon. So if the council would like to, as suggested previously, create a public meeting, then obviously all these things could be looked at. And we can come up with ways in keeping the post office open rather than losing it from the town. It's such an integral part of the economy here that it's just not viable for us to lose it.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
very much. And it's, yeah, great to hear so much proactivity coming from members of the public here. You know, I admire you all for the efforts you've already made. I hope that we can reflect that tonight as well. Are there any other on this side? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'll work my way round. I've got one at the top end there. Yes, Councillor Bennett. Thank you.
May I remind you, Mr. Mayor, of Standing Order 1010? Martin Bennett, Vice Chair of the Oswestry Rural Parish Council and Chair of the Oswestry Area Committee of Parish and Town Councils. I wrote to the Mayor on the 17th of November suggesting this meeting and also a wording which I thought might have been helpful, which doesn't appear on the agenda, but I believe the Town Clerk has circulated it to members. I think we're all agreed that people and businesses will be affected and not just those in Oswestry and the rural parish, but across the area formerly covered by the Borough Council. And I would suggest others living, working on the border with Wales, who in addition to making journeys to Oswestry, perhaps in conjunction with the livestock and retail market, will access services through rural shops. And even, of course, the town citizens accessing post office services through the Cabin Lane outlet, as I'm sure the Cabin Lane members are fully aware. But what about other towns like Ellesmere, Whitchurch, Market Drayton? This potentially could be a Shropshire-wide issue. And how many here tonight have considered that aspect? Which is why the wording I suggested to the Mayor, which has the support of the surrounding parishes, including West Felton, Whittington, Knockin, Selatin and Gabowen, Brighton and others, and is conspicuous by its absence on the actual agenda, sought to be inclusive, opening with the words, "The Oswestry Town Council is in full accord and agreement with the rural hinterland and represented by the various parish councils." A view with which the Mayor concurred. I was encouraged by his response. Thank you for this opportunity to cooperate on this important matter. Hopefully a coordinated response can be achieved, including a strong message such as you are advocating. I look forward to working together on the response to the post office threat. And I will say publicly that I appreciate his kind words to me. I support fully your right to make your opinions heard and recognise your considerable experience in and of local government over many decades. Thank you. And it's with that experience that I considered the items on the agenda. When I also will throw a conundrum at the town clerk, because Standing Order 7B says when a motion moved pursuant to Standing Order 6A has been disposed of, no similar motion may be moved for a further 6 months. And since 6A is the one used by the Mayor, where the first motion to be passed, the other two may automatically fall. The town clerk may wish to reflect. The three motions are laudable in their aims, but do they mean anything? Number one states as its conclusion, we therefore propose that officers write to the post office on behalf of Oswestry Town Council, highlighting the vital services that the local branch plays for residents and business of our town and surrounding rural areas. The second refers to the Equalities Act and the residents of Oswestry. And the third, most wordy of all, makes claims but presents no evidence or facts. My wording encompassed all the aims in a more direct way, stating, if any justification whatever exists, the post office management must present such to a meeting of the combined councils and further to the MP and citizens in an open public meeting to be held in Oswestry. Alternative courses of action which do...
Councillor Bennett,
Could you quote the exact rule, Mr. Mayor?
I can't.
You
quote
can't?
The exact rule.
Because...
I do want to give everyone a chance to speak, if that's okay.
Well, I would say, Mr. Mayor, if you will not allow me to speak, with all my years of experience and the kind cooperation that you suggested originally,
Yeah.
I will conclude with this.
I would like, yeah.
If you truly believe in building a better community together, if you truly believe that this issue transcends mere party politics or personal popularity, if the support of the parishes around you, and if my decades of experience mean anything to this council, on which I served with only one aim, to do my best to improve life for the people of the town and area, then please reflect on the wording of my suggested compromise between all three on the order paper tonight.
Thank you. And I don't mean any disrespect. Your views are really important here, and your experience and your dedication to the town. It's no reflection. I just think, give us a chance. I hope you'll stay for the whole debate.
I wish to stay, Mr. Mayor, but I also asked the town clerk write to me tomorrow morning, citing the exact rule you couldn't cite.
Okay, thank you.
Is that really helpful? I mean, I find, to be fair, and I'm sorry, but I find that what you said, I don't think many of us really understood, and I don't think it took us very much further in actually helping in this matter. It's just hindering it with a lot of rules and regulations which aren't really appropriate to most people.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you. No, thank you. Let's move on. Was there someone? Yeah. Would you like to? There's a
I'm Gemma and I'm from Honeysuckle Whole Foods in town, so I'm a very concerned business person as well as a resident of the town. The thing that's in particular got me, like the First Lady said, is I've been astounded by the clear ignorance of people. They don't know this is happening. I've run a busy shop. We've now got, you know, it was brought in for us. We've got words are failing me anyway, petition on the counter. We've already had 200 signatures in the space of a matter of barely a week. And every time a customer comes in and we say, have you heard? They look at you blankly. I think what was said is all the things that you're all going to do, that's beyond me, and that is incredibly important. Obviously, that's the stuff that's got to happen. But getting the message out there to the public to seriously realise what it means, because they just don't know. And I think the idea of, be it leafleting through the bloody doors or knocking on doors, anything like that, we're doing our bit in the shop. And it's just shocked me that a lot of our customers are aged, they're not online, they don't really watch the telly, they haven't got it streaming up on their phone, which is the only reason I knew this was happening, because it popped up on my phone, is getting the message out to people who aren't looking at these things all the time, you know. And they're the people who really, I imagine, use the post office more than anything else. It's an incredibly valuable resource for the entire town and for businesses. I mean, we are, well, putting it nicely, buggered if it closes. I mean, Co-op Bank's not here anymore. So many other banks aren't. I rang the Co-op Bank and they said, we'll have to go to another post office. Where's that going to be? Basically, yeah, do your best, but try and get the public far more aware of it. Send them to Honeysuckle because we've got it on the counter. I don't know where else you can put it on counters and stuff like that. Yeah, so get it out there as well as everything else. That's all I want to say.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there, that the people affected most by these closures will be the people least able to find alternative ways to access the services provided. So thanks to everyone who's spoken. I'll move on now to item 2, which is apologies for absence.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, apologies for absence from Councillor Chadwick, Councillor Jones, Councillor Stackhouse and Councillor Cassie.
Okay, I'll move that we accept those apologies. All in favour? Thank you. And disclosure of councillors' interests of any matters in relation to the Code of Conduct. A brief look around. No? Thank you very much, councillors. Okay, so the main item on the agenda is the Oswestry Post Office. And as so well expressed by members of the public present, it would be a blow to Oswestry to lose our post office, not only economically, but to the people who find it a vital part of accessing the services that it provides, and who may, for whatever reason, not access the internet or feel proficient and confident at accessing services that way. So, and I know that we're all here broadly in agreement that we want to fight this closure. And so we do have 3 notices of motion on the agenda, but they are all of a similar intent. There seems to be a consensus. They all have merits. They all say slightly different things, but they all have the same aims. And so what I'm hoping is that we can concentrate more on finding actions and possible solutions rather than debating motions and which motion might be the better, or as Councillor Bennett pointed out, if we approve one motion, it means that we can't discuss any that would follow it. Therefore, I propose an alternative, which I'll start with now, but this is by no means intended to shut down debate. It's not, you know, a carved in stone kind of thing that I'm pushing to have agreed as it is. It's a starting point, and then I'll open it up to members if that's okay. So the proposals that I've got are that this council expresses its complete opposition to any partial or complete closure of the post office, that this should be communicated to the post office, asking them to confirm promptly that the Oswestry branch is protected from closure to avoid prolonged worry for staff, residents and local businesses. that we'll agree to work with our MP and ask her to make the strongest representations in Parliament and with the relevant minister. And it's worth pointing out that we have a copy of a letter from Helen Morgan detailing the actions that she's already taken. She's got off on the front foot and been very proactive so far, which I would like to thank her for. But as we know, these proposals are in their early stages, and so there is a lot more that we and she can do together. We would call on all stakeholders, including the Post Office management and local representatives, to work together to find a solution that keeps this essential service in our town. We encourage neighbouring councils to discuss the matter and take relevant action. We would like to invite the relevant minister and senior representatives from the Post Office to attend a public meeting so that the views of the public can be heard in full. Invite representatives from neighbouring parish councils to attend that meeting also. To encourage people to make their voice heard through the various ways residents and groups are drawing attention to this issue, including petitions and other community-led efforts. And we've heard of some of those already taking place. Ask the Post Office to undertake meaningful consultation. Residents of Oswestry and its hinterland rely on the Post Office, which is especially critical for disabled and other protected groups under the Equalities Act. The closure would disproportionately affect the most vulnerable members of our community, forcing them to travel further afield for services that they can currently access locally. So we would ask for the Post Office to publish their business plan and Equalities Impact Assessment and commit to open and transparent decision making. The closure would also harm local businesses, many of whom depend on the Post Office for daily operations. Losing this service could create additional barriers for small businesses already under pressure in the current economic climate. And finally, to point out that there is no evidence to support the closure of the Post Office in Oswestry. So I propose that as the starting point for discussion and to form the basis of the action that this council will take. But I open it up to members too. Thank you, Councillor Maguire. Who else would like to speak? Councillor Coburn.
Thank you. I think I would broadly support a motion along those lines. One thing that does concern me is that basically we're in the position of an institution that we all agree is essential to Oswestry's prosperity and the value of the town that it adds, and yet it's in public hands, and I feel like this is an illustration of the problems of privatising essential state assets, and that in addition to all those things already suggested, that we should call for the return of the Post Office to public ownership, so that an essential state and an essential town institution can be controlled by the public sector and not by private business.
Thank you. I have Councillor Maguire and Councillor Kerr.
I just want to say thank you, Mayor, for bringing it forward in that manner. That was something I was going to suggest, because I think all three motions that were brought forward to us tonight, both by myself and other councillors, were all very similar, as you well said, and they made some extremely valid points. So I didn't really want to sit here debating and pulling apart motions. They should all be amalgamated in the way in which they were. Our prime goal here is to try and stop the closure, or at least, if we can't stop the closure, find out why. We need answers, and I think many of the residents and shop owners have all said that. We do need answers as to why they have decided we are one of them. You know, we councillors, members in the room, all know the sheer amount of people that walk in there day in, day out. It's so popular. We have multiple bus services that stop directly outside outside the post office to make it of ease of access for all different residents of different ages and disabilities. You know, it's got such easy access. A lot of the buildings in Oswestry aren't as easily accessible as what our post office is. So if you're in a wheelchair and you're in any other building, you would not be able to access it as well. Now, we used to have a post office in Morda. That went years ago. As far as I'm aware, there's only two reasonably close ones, but it would result in long distance travelling, the closest one being Cabin Lane. But again, that isn't accessible to everyone. The post office, one good thing about a big local post office like it is if you have any issues with reading or filling out forms, they are there to help you. They are there to fill that form out. Somebody that's working in a little independent shop might not have that time. There's only one person, maybe two people in that shop. They may not have that time to help that person that's got difficulties in filling that form out. You know, you want to post something, it's not easy just to pop to your shop. If you're going into town, you do two jobs at the same time. That will have a huge detriment impact on our shops in town. If they go into the post office, they'll pop into the shop and do something at the same time, or vice versa. It's going to have a huge impact. So I'm glad that you pulled it forward the way that you have and put them all together, because it saves a lot of pulling and throwing around. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kerr.
Thank you. I'm very pleased that we're bringing this forward in this way. There's a real danger here that in our passion, and we should have passion about this, but in our passion we get so heated that we actually fall out at a time when the whole town needs to be united to stand behind our post office, for the businesses that use it, for the people who work in it, and for the customers who absolutely need it as a lifeline. And to me, that must come before any concerns about whether we've done the right, who called the meeting and what motions. I mean, we all tried to do our best. There were 3 motions, as you can probably heard. They were all independently put in just to benefit the public by members here sitting around this table, who the first thing they did when they heard this news was to put a motion to the council. Now, that would have come up at the next council meeting in a week's time, as it happened. Better still to have the meeting here. But it was just, it may be a critical up, maybe it can't. But what I'm trying to say is everybody here is desperately trying to do their very best to fight this. And I think it's very important that we all work together on that, rather than fall out on tactics about it, if you like. So I really do think the meeting in particular is passionately needed, and the public have made that point very clear, and I hope we can have that. The only point I would say on clarification is, and it's interesting this, because this is confusing to most people, and I even had to look it up. It wasn't the post office that was privatised, it was Royal Mail that was privatised. So what had been for 500 years an integrated service was split into 2, and it was a Royal Mail that was privatised and the post office was retained. I have to say, since then, both of them have not done well. You know, both of them have been pretty much failing organisations, and I'm not here making a general point about privatisations. It's just that the form that privatisation took just has broken up what was a very effective organisation into 2 half-effective organisations. And we've seen it also on British Rails had the same problem when the track went to one and the rail company went to the other. So I think it's important we ask for those root causes, because if every town fights as hard as we do for its post office, somebody's still going to lose out because they want to save some money, don't they? So it's important that we actually point out that if they kept the 2 together, and for a while there was a contractual arrangement that the post office and the Royal Mail had to work together in terms of distribution of letters, but that agreement was time limited and has come to an end, and I think that's what's prompted that, and of course of rising average, the concerns and the claims at the moment. So just to clarify on that matter. But I just say, thanks for that. I honestly hope we can all get behind this and we can show a united front. If we don't show a united front, we might lose our post office, because the one thing that the people who want to close our post office would like to see is us all squabbling over the best way of fighting it and not showing the unity that we need to show.
Thank you. Councillor Price.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for recognising the urgency of this meeting. Where do you start on this one? The 3 good motions, very good motions, all accumulating and accounting for the same object. The motions were going to be cast as the same thing to get the same result. The pleasing thought of this meeting is actually to the members of the public turning up and giving their voices, their valuable time. Shop owners recognising that footfall will be hurt and detrimental to Oswestry. We are a market town and we rely on footfall. The aim of closing the post office might be one thing, but all I have heard is what I really did think would come to the meeting. Public opinion. And it's public opinion, the public, that the post office relies on. I think at this stage, they are probably actually forgetting this. We are the 2nd largest town in Shropshire. And sometimes we are complacent about it. But maybe we should be getting the recognition of the main town of Shrewsbury. Maybe we should shout a little bit more. But I do extend my thanks to the public for coming tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. I've got Councillor Coburn as well. Okay.
I just wanted to say, in response to Councillor Kerr's clarification on the privatisation point, that there was little point of my amendment going forward in that state. So I just want to carry on with everyone's view that we move together united on the motion as suggested.
Okay, so am I to understand it, Councillor, that you wish to table an amendment that the motion should include a call for Royal Mail to be brought back into public ownership, or?
Sorry, it's obviously it's in relation to the post office specifically, which is not in private ownership. So I take on board Councillor Kerr's thoughts that it would be good to have an understanding of the route that has got us here, but that calling for a specific action is not likely to be helpful at the precise moment.
Okay, so no amendment
yeah.
being tabled. Thank you. Councillor Radford. I'm,
It's the only Crown office that's left in the whole of Shropshire.
oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Important point.
And that's been like the last 15 years.
Yeah, thank you very much. Councillor Radford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think one of the threads that's gone through most of our discussions this evening is about the general public and their perceptions and their opinions, and it strikes me that we have called a meeting, yes, at short notice, but this and the general public are here, and that's great. But actually, if you think about the numbers of residents, then potentially our voice is not getting out to people. And actually, I think I would ask that the motion goes a step further in terms of leadership from Town Council about communicating to the general public on the street, whether it's a market stall, whether it's a stall on the cross, whether it's a way of actively getting out to talk to people, to tell them what's happening so that they really are aware. You know, the honeysuckle petition is one aspect. There's various other petitions going around. It's quite clear that there are some members of the public that are aware, but there are a lot of people that aren't aware. And it feels like we can hold a public meeting, but my fear is that we will get a number of the public, but not enough. And I think we need to go a step further about how we communicate our thoughts and as a leadership for this council and really get that word out to people. It's really difficult when people some are online and some aren't online, and some walk the streets and some don't. But actually, we still need to care about all of those people and how we communicate to them. So I think it needs to go a step further.
Okay, thank you. So are you proposing that we add that the Town Council takes a leadership role in raising awareness of the issue, proactively gathering support, and facilitating the efforts to coordinate that and put the campaign together as such?
I think it's a way of communicating to our residents in different formats, whether it's using social media programs that we already have, whether it's websites that we already use, but we also have the ability of people that we can talk to people on the ground, and we can get petitions up, we can carry on just communicating to people and making them aware, and I think that's important.
Yeah, so to strengthen the sort of encourage people to make their voice heard and draw attention to this issue, including petitions, to make that we lead, we facilitate, and that we try and coordinate those actions and raise the awareness. Yeah, okay. I'm happy to second that amendment. Right, okay, I've got Councillor Owen, then Councillor Milner, then Councillor Upton, then Councillor Maguire, and then Councillor Moore. Councillor Owen, oh, sorry, and Councillor Davis.
No, thank you. I was going to raise the same point that the member of the public made, in that considering we are the second town, we're the only one with a Crown Post Office, Shrewsbury's is in a W.H. Smith. If people know the W.H. Smith in Oswestry, trying to get the same number of people that go into the post office every day, you'd have a queue halfway down Church Street, and that's not good for anybody. Also, based on my experience where I work, it's a matter of people are continually, it's a benefit to be online, and some people just cannot get to that. And taking away a facility for people to go to, like we recommend people to go to the post office to get some advice or to do things like it needs to be there to allow people who need a benefit that they might not be able to access through anything else. Like, I think there's other questions about with relying on one single thing that is a single point of failure, and we need to sort of look at what those services could be put into other areas to make sure that it isn't just one thing that closes and suddenly everything's collapsing around it. Like, it's important we focus on the issue at hand. We don't let it close, but we need to also make sure there's backup options if that doesn't happen.
Yes, thank you. And just to clarify, obviously I said I second an amendment, but by accepting the amendment, it becomes part of the substantive motion that we're discussing, because it was me that tabled it. So, okay, who was next? Councillor Milner. Sorry. Oh, was it? Sorry. Councillor Davis, then.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's a bit of an oddball on this, but I was wondering if there was any communication between the banks and the post office at some point, whether we could find out under Freedom of Information Act. Because when I was working in Mid-Wales, Aberystwyth, probably over the last 8 years, 10 years, you could see the banks closing. You know, Machynlleth Midland Bank went, Barclays Bank went, Newtown, the banks closed, and they're all saying, use the post office is now set up to do your banking. We've seen the same in Oswestry, there's only a couple of banks left. So if the post office goes, we've again lost that banking facility. And as one of the ladies here said, you know, everybody says, oh, well, you've got one of these now, so you can go online or www, which seriously winds me up, because I'm old to get. But there is no facility for people that can't get online or use one of these phones to do that. So, you know, if we could find out if there was something done with the banks and the post office, for the post office to take the work on, there might be something set up where they've got to run it for a time period, I don't know. It might be just a little leeway for us to help us with the fund.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. I've got Councillor Upton.
Originally, it was more to point you in the direction of Councillor Owen's hand, but something has crossed my mind. A couple of things. Firstly, the post office haven't been very clear as to their reasoning behind why they have made the list, or at least I didn't interpret it as being clear. Is it that they're just unable to use the current building? And if so, is there anything that we as a council could do to alleviate that issue so that they don't have to leave it? And secondly, towns such as Welshpool, and I'm pretty sure there's another one, I think it's Newtown, they have banking hubs that are operated by the post office. They are separate buildings, they're open a couple of days a week, and they provide those banking services. So if for any reason they are unable to still provide postal services, would they still be able to operate a banking hub in town, so that eventually, when the time comes when all the banks decide to leave town, there would still be that banking presence available with ATM machines?
Thank you, Councillor. If I can go to Councillor Moore next, and then Councillor Maguire.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just kind of to Councillor Radford's point about trying to communicate better with the public. I'm trying to think of a few ways that maybe we can try and proactively actually do something about that. This week, I mean, I actually went to a local Your Mug on the Mug and got a T-shirt printed up that said "Save Our Post Office." I've been walking around local businesses all week trying to get quotes from local businesses about what the post office means to them, and trying to sort of, you know, bring them all together in a sort of a nice sort of neat package as you know, something we can sort of shout about. But it's very limited what I can do just on my own. I'm sort of running around between childcare and work to try and just get out to as many businesses as I can. It brings me back to a point I raised a while ago about digital advertising boards in the town that we can upload things to if these were in place. You know, 2 years ago when I first brought it to council, we could have easily had things like this on those boards going up. Obviously, we don't have not enough time to do anything about that now in this, but it's another thing for us to future consider. And when things like this do come up, having those assets available to us could be very, very useful. In the amount of time that we've got now, I think that my mind just goes to the idea that maybe it's time that the town council, we write to every resident in Oswestry, that we produce a document, a flyer, something that maybe, even if just simply guides people in the direction of the main petition, which is our MP's petition, letting people know that that's there, letting people know what's going on, and letting people know that there is, you know, there is a risk to the post office and the town council's being as proactive as we can by writing to every single resident in the town. Doesn't that ensure that we're at least getting to them rather than expecting them to get to us? Given how urgent and how time sensitive this is, I can't think of a better way that we can reach that many people that quickly. Is that something the council could do?
Well, I'll just ask Aaron if, on the
It'll
practicalities
cost, for sure.
of sending a mail shot to all residents.
Yeah, it's difficult to answer on the exact logistics, but it's obviously doable. And I think there are a number of other ways that we can use our assets to communicate the petition and, you know, highlight some of the issues as well. You know, car parks, for example, posters of car parks, using notice boards as well. So I think there are a number of ideas. Yeah, not sure about the practicalities of the letter, but we can obviously report back to you.
Can I, yeah, obviously, I mean, again, as we were discussing with we're at a point now, especially with our car parks, where an awful lot of people using the My Permit app and that now, so there are fewer people go into the actual machines themselves as well, aren't there? So, although having the posters up at that is a great idea, I think it's one rod in the pond. Obviously, there's going to be a cost associated with these things. Is the sensible course then, maybe, as Councillor Kerr just whispered to me there, it might be a sensible suggestion, is perhaps we ask for the clerk to bring a costing for doing this to our next meeting. It's only in a couple of weeks. That perhaps we could ask for that to be done, and we can make a decision as a council as to whether or not it's economically viable to do this. Obviously, it goes without saying that it would be completely politically neutral and just from the town council, just trying to bring people together. But isn't that a good way forward for Councillor Radford's proposal, if you don't mind me adding that?
Yeah,
Thank you.
And suggestions about the other forms of communication that we've got at our disposal, our social media platforms where we can also signpost people to. Well, oh, okay. Lovely. Yeah, well, there's an action, yeah, which is added to the list. Councillor Maguire, you were going to suggest something similar.
The resident has just said what I've written it down here. I was just going to say, Councillor Radford is correct. We should be, as a council, out there talking to members of the public. And I would like to suggest to all town councillors sitting at this table, there's 18 of us in total, that we all put in a little bit of time on Saturday to stand outside the post office on Red Square, wherever it may be, in the town centre, and getting signatures, be it on the MP's petition or the petition that I've got going. Doesn't matter, it all goes together, it will all be going to the same place. But I think we could all spare, we're all councillors, we could all spare an hour or two on Saturday doing our stint and getting signatures. And I've also just had a note passed to me from a resident behind me saying, can you not email all businesses in the town for their opinion? Council must be accessible to businesses' emails and contact details. So that was from a member of the public behind me asking if the council can email businesses, because council should be able to contact all businesses, or are they not able to?
No, we have no information on businesses, but I can find access to that.
The bid could,
Yeah,
couldn't they, Parker? Yeah. Yes. Sorry, there's a lot there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I just wonder if all councillors would be willing to put up an hour or two on Saturday and get signatures and speak to residents that may not be aware of what's going on. So yes, you are right.
Yeah, great idea. Is that something you can organise?
I can organise it.
Yeah.
It's not a political matter.
No.
This is what we should be doing as a council.
Yeah.
Fighting. So
And
we
it's
should all be working together on this. And if that's
Yeah.
what we can do, everyone can give up a couple of hours on Saturday, and we can do it.
And it's
If you can't do Saturday, perhaps those that can't do Saturday do a day in a couple of hours in the week.
it's worth saying that I see this as the role of councillors. You know, it's not something that we sit around and talk about and decide and then give all the work to officers. This is what we're here to do as the representatives of our residents.
Can I just, sorry to interrupt and say, I've just been informed that Monday is the busiest day at the post office as it's eBay day. So those who can't do a Saturday could probably do the Monday.
eBay Day.
Thank you.
There you
Sorry.
go. I didn't know that was a thing, but yeah. Thank you. I've got Councillor Upton.
Would it be a reasonable suggestion, if this mail shot does go ahead, that we actually take all the envelopes and deposit them through the post office? Because A, it would demonstrate our commitment to it, and B, presumably Post Office Limited, they'll want their staff to record statistics, facts and figures, where things go into. So suddenly if they get like hundreds and hundreds of things from Oswestry Town Council on this, it's going to send a message to management, isn't it?
Absolutely. Okay, so I now have Councillor Radford again, then Councillor Davis, then Councillor Owen.
My only point was exactly what Les had brought up in terms of we have a network of businesses in terms of the bid system, and they're the best people to talk to the community in terms of businesses and the impact on businesses. So let's use them. They also have kind of aspects of using the One Oswestry Wi-Fi. So I wonder whether there's an aspect of anybody that logs into local Wi-Fi in Oswestry also has a pop-up that says, "Do you know that your local Oswestry post office is at risk?" Just another idea.
Thank you. Councillor Davis.
Yeah, I know it's the post office, you know, we're talking Oswestry and Oswestry residents, but we must be mindful for all the people that use this post office from the other villages, you know, the Salatins, the Gaboyans, and even if they've got their own little post office, they do use the main post office for all other things, passports and everything. So I was wondering if Mr Bennett, with his rollers, what he's got, whether he can get the other councils to get some sort of petition up in their local shop or wherever, to get signatories from these other places as well, because we obviously need a lot from a big area.
Thank you. I'll allow you a brief reply.
If your motion includes the levels of cooperation that I suggested in my motion, I would be happy to do so. Because although I am a resident of Oswestry, I've heard so much about Oswestry Post Office, but there's a synergy between all of them. And one element that has not been mentioned is the fact that mail shots and or at least mail and the use of mail has changed significantly. Because we're all being told to communicate electronically. So we need to understand what the change has been. I often get notes saying, please use electronics, we want to save paper. Or if you do a mail shot and intrigued to know under which bit of financial regulation I should post that, I'm sure that the bill will be enormous, and it can be quite a pleasure to get something to the letterbox that isn't a catalogue or a begging letter.
Thank you. Yeah, Councillor Owen. Thank you.
Just to respond to Councillor Bennett, as far as cost goes for leafleting, I think I'm quite well aware of it. You can do it quite cheaply these days. So I think as far as cost to the public, you'd be looking at probably less than £500 to do the whole of Oswestry. The question I've now received is, has anyone from the Town Council actually spoken to the Post Office to establish why it's been consulted for closure? And if not, can someone from the Town Council do it to find out what we're up against and why? I would answer that as individual councillors, we don't represent the town, we represent the Town Council as a whole, so any individual councillor can't go off on one and try, basically represent the council and use that authority to try and get an answer out of any establishment. I will pass it over to the clerk.
That is wholly in the motion that the Mayor has suggested, that we do try and get that rationale and business case, because you're quite right, it hasn't been published. There's been little information in the public domain, so that one of the first actions is to write to the Post Office and say, you know, what's your business case, share that information with us, and then you can start to build your argument around that, can't you? So, yeah, we have the contact details. We've been in touch with the local branch, but yeah, as a member of the public suggested, its response has been a little bit slow.
Okay. Are there
Sorry,
any?
I hadn't.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
No, it's a matter of, I was just trying to highlight to the public that while Shropshire councillors do have more autonomy as far as acting as representatives, the individual town councillors can't get information as readily, and therefore it's a matter of speaking to your local town council and allowing them to bring it up in this forum is the correct method of going about that.
Thank you. Councillor Kerr.
Yeah, I don't want to take away from anything. I agree with everything that's been said. I just want to make the point this is likely to be a marathon, not a sprint. It's not going to be as simple as just having a public meeting saying no and they change their mind. I can guarantee what they do is come back with some proposals, maybe to establish a sub-post office branch somewhere, as you've heard, in Shrewsbury, in the WH Smiths. We need to consult the public on that. So it's not that we shouldn't have a public meeting, but don't think that's going to be the end of it. That's the start of it. Whatever they come back with, we need to look at that, assess whether that's right for Oswestry, and fight and campaign against that if that is the case. And so we just need to talk to everybody about on that basis. This is a long-running campaign, I imagine, rather than a one-off we say, no, it doesn't happen. I wish that was the world, but from my experience, the world isn't like that.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right. Would anyone else like to speak? Okay, so in summary, there seems to be a consensus around the points that we've been discussing that I listed at the beginning, with the addition of to obviously strengthen our leadership around facilitating and pulling together the campaign with residents. Asking the clerk to produce a report on costings of contacting all residents by post, and also our other communication methods that we can use to raise awareness and encourage the public to get involved in this, and that we work with BID so that we can coordinate efforts because they are better placed to communicate to businesses than we are. So, Councillor Davis.
Just very quickly, for the petition, could we have a proper form set up with a few words on the top what it's about? So us as councillors could have it, because I know down on the trading estate, I know a few of the businesses really well, and I'm sure I could just stick some in there and people come in and they'll be, if they're aware of it, they're signing it. It's picking people up at that end as well. But I think we need, the ones we've got now are fine, they'll go in. But I think if we had a more formal one with what the action is and why.
So a formal town council petition.
I think that would be good.
Okay, because I wasn't sure about whether to suggest that because of the existing petitions that...
They all go to the same.
They'll all go together, but going forward, if you had something a bit more formal, it's better than me writing on the top of a piece of paper and sticking it in Morgan's and say, oh, can you get your customers to sign this?
So an Oswestry Town Council petition to lend our weight to that.
It doesn't matter how many petitions there are, they're all going to go together to the same place.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Well, it's just a thought, it's open to everybody.
Yeah. I'm looking for a few nods. I've got Councillor Moore.
I'm not sure. The idea, if there's multiple petitions, all with, for argument's sake, there's 100 signatures on each one. We don't know that those 100 signatures haven't all come from the same 100 people. So it's not then a case of there must be 300 people because there's 3 petitions all with 100 people on it. You're starting to spread the impact thinner and thinner, aren't you? It's like what we want is one petition with 18,500 signatures on it saying everybody in Oswestry is absolutely opposed to this idea. I think that everybody who starts a petition is just watering down the petition. It's like it's much better to just stick with one, I think.
So with the proposal for petition, shall we leave that as a thought that we can discuss maybe at the next council meeting, because this is going to be on the agenda, as Councillor Kerr predicts, several times, because a form of words would have to be agreed by everyone, so it's probably going to be a bit of a process, that. Okay. Right, thank you, councillors. I think we can move to the vote. Sorry, Councillor Rose, did you? No. We can move to the vote on this. So, all in favour of the motion? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you, councillors, for that. Well, that has dealt with the business on the agenda. So I would just like to once again thank everyone for coming to this extra meeting, especially the members of the public who've come and shared their views with us. It's really important, and it doesn't happen nearly often enough. So I'd like to thank you for your time this evening. And it's been the liveliest meeting we've had for a long time. So thanks for giving us that. And meeting closed.